Help needed signs are everywhere as the economy attempts to reopen. So where are all the workers, and how do you get them to come back to your place of employment? That's next on Employment Law After Hours. On this episode of Employment Law After Hours, we're going to discuss the extended unemployment benefits and how they're coming to an end, which should hopefully drive workers back to your places of employment. Again, as we said, kind of going into this, there's help wanted signs everywhere. There's plenty of jobs to be had. You just got to get the workers to come back to you. Now, before we get to the topic of the day, I'm going to turn over to Monica for that unfortunately required disclaimer.
All right, so as you know, Brian and I are both lawyers out of Akron, Ohio, but we're not yet your lawyers. So this video is purely for informational purposes, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out, but make sure that you read the disclaimer below in our bio before you rely on this video for any reason.
So let's start by talking what got us to this position where there's so few employees in the workforce right now. Obviously, the pandemic had a dramatic impact on the workforce and the trends that we typically see throughout the years. One of the leading causes for the shortage of employees has been the passage of the extended unemployment benefits by the federal government and implemented by the states. Right. So as you all recall, in the early days of the pandemic, the Trump administration originally passed both an extension of unemployment benefits to last for an additional number of weeks far beyond the traditional 26 weeks that you see at the state level. But the administration also passed an increase in those unemployment benefits to the point where employees were getting $600 or more on top of their traditional unemployment benefit levels. That obviously encourages a lot of people, especially those who are making minimum wage only jobs, to remain at home as they're actually making more money on unemployment than they were at their minimum wage jobs. So politics aside, whatever that may be, that is the economics of the situation. Now, when Biden administration came in, they also reinforced those extension of the unemployment benefits. And although they reduced the amount that employees were receiving on top of their traditional unemployment amounts from the states, they did, in fact, keep an additional sum of payment. I think it was $200 to $400 at the option of the state to add on top.
Right. But now, Brian, we're seeing a whole lot of states are coming out of that. We're transitioning out of those extra benefits as a result of COVID as we start to see more vaccinations go up, numbers go down, that kind of thing, right? So as you just mentioned, there were a lot of states that were offering those bonus amounts of money for people who are collecting unemployment, but we've seen a lot of states who are going to end those additional benefits as a result of those COVID numbers going down, vaccination numbers going up, in the hope that people will return to work. There are a number of states who are no longer going to be providing those, and we're starting to see those kick in, right now in June all the way through July, but there are a number of states who are no longer going to be giving incentive.
Sure. And we're actually going to put on the screen right now the states that are ending their extended unemployment benefits and that additional amount, and the approximate dates of when we expect those states to implement those changes. Obviously, this is subject to change at any time, but as of right now, that's the information that we have. So as Monica said, many states ending those extra benefits in June and into July. So hopefully this summer, as things begin to reopen, there will be workers who are kind of encouraged to re-enter their workforce. So in addition to ending the extended unemployment benefits, a lot of states are actually offering incentives to encourage workers to come back to work.
Yeah, so as many are aware, out of the American Rescue Plan Act, there came a lot of funds that were distributed among the states, and a lot of those states are actually using those funds, or at least a portion of those funds, to incentivize workers back to work. So some states like Arizona, Montana, Oklahoma, that we're aware of right now, are actually providing little bonuses, chunks of money to get workers to go back to work.
Yeah, so essentially, it sounds like, Monica, these states are giving people money.
Yes.
To go back to get a job, go find a new job, and then remain at that new job for a certain period of time. And if you do, the state's just going to hand you over a check as a bonus for re-entering the workforce. That's obviously how desperately needed jobs are right now in the economy.
Yes, absolutely. Right, Brian. So we covered what the states are doing to get employees back to work through these bonuses, but what about employers?
So obviously employers have an incentive to drive the top talent to their workplace.
Right.
And when you have, whether that be restaurants, bars, or businesses, they have an incentive to get the best talent to come back. And there's going to be a lot of positions that need filled and a lot of employees. So how do you attract that top talent? Well, what we know is a lot of employers are looking at first doing is coming out with COVID safety policies. That essentially say, hey, we take COVID very seriously. We're still taking these safety precautions. Therefore, please feel safe coming to work for us. That's one thing that many people who have been out of the workforce for a long time are going to consider and want to hear. Second, they're offering additional raises on their salaries or wage payments that existed prior to the pandemic again, to encourage people to now come work for them. So they might be giving $5 to $10 an hour jumps in payment per hour to drive those employees back, which, should hopefully be enticing enough to get those best workers, but then also to encourage them to come back maybe even before the ending of the unemployment benefits.
Interesting.
Another thing employers can do is actually begin to consider offering health insurance or other benefits if they previously didn't do so. You're going to have a lot of employees who maybe got used to continued COBRA benefits during unemployment and will also be looking for health insurance now on this back end. So let's begin to consider offering those employees with health insurance benefits to encourage them to come work for you, and maybe they'll give you the enticement or the benefit over competitor employers.
All right, so if you're watching out there, leave a comment below if you're an employee to let us know what you're doing to get back to work, and if you're an employer, what you're doing to incentivize your workforce back to the office.
And while you're leaving that comment below, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Employment law changes so rapidly, so I think it's important that people do subscribe to not only our channel but other employment law channels or HR channels. That way they're on top of these changes to eliminate or otherwise reduce risk and liability to your workforce and to your company.
Absolutely.
With that being said, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, click on that like button, and ring that bell. That way you're notified next time we upload a video. We'll see you next time.
See ya.